Okay, so France were playing Namibia in Marseille. Wow, this is a response from the French who underperformed so far, really. Yeah, they beat New Zealand, but New Zealand were terrible, and then they laboured against Uruguay and had no real direction and flow to their game. Tonight, they've scored 96 points. They've got a record-breaking win. They were 54-0 up at half-time. They probably could have beaten the 100-point mark, but they've ended up with 96 points. The first half is absolutely ridiculous. There's periods in the second half where they lose a little bit of direction and focus. Yes, Dupont goes off with a head knock. Hopefully, it's not too serious. Daisel is sin binned and ultimately ends up with a red card for the head contact. It's a high tackle. That's around 45 minutes. Now, that was a disallowed try for Rousseau. So Namibia could have got on the score sheet there with some good blitz defence. But looking at it, I mean, Penaud, he got the bonus point. BL Biarri was fantastic. Dante was a machine. Olivant, was operating almost as an outside back at times in this game. Absolutely ridiculous. Coulier came on. He seemed to have a bit more control over the game than Luku did against Uruguay. So, they've got some scrum half options there. Should Dupont not be available to continue? Jaminet, he's got pace from fly half, but let's break it down. Because Namibia end up with 13 players on the field. So Penaud opens the scoring after just 6 minutes, and that is a ridiculous crossfield kick from Dupont. There's a lot of crossfield kicks in this tournament, and a lot of them are coming off. That's the only kick conversion that Ramos misses. Then Dante gets his first try on 9 minutes. BL Biarri with some handling skills from the kick ahead to pass that back to Dante for his first try. Olivant's try comes on 17 minutes. Penaud gets his second try on the bonus point on 21 minutes, and that's at this point they've exploded. Dante gets his second try on 26 minutes. Flamand gets his try on 33 minutes. Dupont gets his try on 38 minutes, and BL Barry gets his first try on 40 minutes, which was a very popular try. He's one of the youngest players at the World Cup. He's the youngest player in the French squad. He's only 20 years old. And so it's 54-0 at half time. The French are playing how they should have played in the first two games. We know they're capable of doing this. Okay, yeah, the opposition isn't the best, but broken play running, they are ridiculously dangerous. Penaud is one of the best players in the world. BL Biarri has ridiculous pace, absolutely ridiculous pace. Dupont, it shows how important he is to the side with the combinations. They absolutely just had a field day. Now, the first half is just France playing at 110%. How they didn't play like this against Uruguay and against the All Blacks is beyond me. They've obviously had a rollicking in training. This was a full-strength France lineup. I think, they've got that rest week as well. The key matches against Italy, because Italy also want to get out of the pool, and they have a very good chance of doing that themselves. So this was a very, very key match to just build some momentum. But that first half was possibly the best first 40 minutes we've seen at this World Cup. That was the best half of rugby I think played. There was the only mistake really was Ramos missing the first conversion. They were imperious. Their handling skills were absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, I it it's just stunned me how ridiculous some of the handling skills, the support play, running from deep. We've seen a lot of sides decide to run the ball more from their 22 than kick, but just the French ball in hand. It was just like watching Sevens and Rugby League combined in a rugby union full test match. Ridiculous, unbelievable. Now, the big key moment is Daisel's sin being upgraded to a red and the high tackle on Dupont. Yes, Rousseau gets the intercept and obviously touches down under the posts, and that would have been a very popular score. I think the neutrals wanted that to happen, but it is head on head. It is high. Yeah, he has. You know, both players are bending into the tackle a little bit, but it is with force, and he's drilled Dupont quite hard. Now there'll be those who look at the previous yellows for the head contacts we've seen and the missed calls we've seen in this World Cup, and then of course the Tom Curry incident, the first red of the tournament. And this is where that consistency. It's consistency. Now, I'm not a big fan of the review, the 10-minute review mid-game. I think if it is deemed a red, it should be a red. If it's deemed a yellow, it should be a yellow. I think give a bit more power back to the on-field officials in that regard. The on-field officials have missed that, however, but I would say give a bit more power back to the on-field refs, and if it is deemed an upgradable offence, do it after the game. But that is a red card. Now, Dupont is key for this side. He is the best player in the world. Now, Couliard comes on and he has an impact straight away. I'm surprised that they went with Luku in the last test. Couliard looks just as capable as Dupont in how he attacks and the structure he brings and the control he brings and the pace as well. He's a bit quicker than Dupont. Not as good kicking wise, but with the runs he makes. But that is a key moment. That is a discussion point, and at this point we're looking for consistency in this area because there's been some miscalls. Jesse Creel, for example. There's been the Tom Curry and the Sigrin instance that were carbon copies of each other. One was a red, one was a yellow, and now we've got this Dasel red card to look at, and we'll see. Going forward, not only through this World Cup but post the World Cup, whether the World Rugby stick with this on-field TMO review yellow-red. Some of these are just yellows and some are straight reds, and there's not a consistency there. We're going to debate that. Now, Couliard scores his try almost straight away from the resulting penalty set play. That's on 47 minutes. He has a try disallowed for a tackle off the ball, and that's a no arms tackle. There's a few no arms tackles by French defenders, but there's a tackle off the ball after the ball's passed. It's a late hit. We've seen them given as yellow cards in this tournament. That one wasn't. Penaud gets his hat-trick try on 54 minutes. I mean, Damien Penaud is a ridiculous. And that hat-trick try comes from an intercept from Namibia going down one end. Ball gets turned over, and then they end up down the other end. And Jaminet should have given the pass earlier. It doesn't matter. They recycled the ball, but that was end-to-end stuff. That was a brilliant piece of play, I think, by both sides. It was very entertaining. Biel Biarri's second try is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous solo try. Absolutely ridiculous. He ends up on the other side of the field. He's the left winger, ends up scoring on the right wing position. Curving run, just he is one of the quickest guys in world rugby. Olivant's next try comes in 68 minutes. Jaminet gets his try in 76, and then there's a penalty try where Bernardo gets sin binned for collapsing them all right at the end to round up the scoring 96-0. But the big moment is Dupont going off and that Dasel red card. The debate about refereeing consistency. Now, what is a red and what isn't a yellow anymore? Because we've seen several similar instances where they've been adjudged differently. Now, does the Dasel sin binning red card have an outcome on the game? Not really. The only way I think it has an outcome on the game is it does disrupt the French flow for a little bit when they've had to bring Dupont off earlier than anticipated, bring Couliard into the game earlier than anticipated. And that disjoints the French for a bit because the scoring does slow down a little bit in the second half, and there is a period where there's that adjustment. That's the only impact it has on the game. But as I say, we're going back to consistency here because of the Tom Curry and the Sigrin incidents. Now the Jesse Creel no call. There is clearly a consistency issue, and have World Rugby rushed this new rule change in as a reactionary measure, and I keep saying this. Now, there are those in favour of the TMO 10-minute review period, and there are those like me who think it should be done post-game. If it's a yellow on the field, it's a yellow. If it's a penalty, just a penalty. And if it's a red, it's a red. Now, we did see in a previous game, what game was it, where the Sebastian Negri on Freitas and the referee on the field went, "That's just a penalty. That's a legitimate clear out, and it's an accidental." That the in the clear out, the Uruguayan players basically headbutted a player on the ground by accident by just poor clear out technique, and then because of the angle of bodies, Negri goes in and accidentally brushes him with incidental secondary contact. So now we are seeing completely different viewpoints in regards to accidental and deliberate head contact, and is there intent, is there no intent, is there control, is there recklessness. I think what we're seeing now we didn't see 20 years ago. 20 years ago we weren't getting these headshots. We really weren't. So something's happened in the last 20 years where technique and you know physicality has changed in the game. The game has evolved over the last 20 years. And we weren't seeing these sin binnings and red cards on such a degree that we were. We weren't seeing the head contact that we were. There has clearly been there's been a change in how players tackle. The choke tackle is now a thing. There's more upright tackles now, and that is a technique and that is a coaching issue. Now, as more rugby league players do the cross-code switch, and as more rugby league coaches do the cross-code switch, Sean Edwards is a prime example, Andy Farrell is another one, who have played league and now they're playing and coaching in union. I just use those two as examples because one is just an out-and-out defence coach. He was a very aggressive player in league. The other one was a league to union convert and now has become a union converted coach. There's been that influence of a bit of AFL from the Australian side of things, a bit of rugby league from the cross-code internationals and cross-code coaches, and the choke tackle has become a thing, which is a more upright tackle, which again then increases the result of a head-to-head contact. You get the two-man choke tackles, again increasing the likelihood of a head-to-head contact, accidental contact. There's definitely, this is the area that World Rugby needs to look at, is tackling technique. And how we've ended up over the last 20 or so years at this position where we are getting more head contact in the game, and also at the same time research is showing that repeat head contact, CTE, dementia, Alzheimer's and other related injuries as a result of poor tackle technique are coming into the game. And World Rugby has been very reactionary, I think. But that's the big debating point, is the red card and Dupont going off injured. There were a couple of French tacklers, no arms in there. I think another French player goes off with a concussion because of, again, poor tackle technique, where he's just got his head in the wrong position. So it's the defender who's getting himself knocked out. And that's a debate we're going to continue to have, is where rugby union's going, and the tackle and the clear out has definitely become a bit of a talking point, as have sin bins and red cards. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. I mean, how do I really review a game where it's 96-0? I mean, look, the French ball in hand were ridiculous. Their handling errors were very, very low. Their penalty count was a lot lower, and they just attacked off running from deep. They weren't kicking a lot. They were literally going, we're going to run the ball from deep then. Very similar to Italy against Uruguay yesterday, just run from deep. More teams are willing to run from deep and attack broken defence and open field running and broken play than we've seen in previous years as well. You do still need that structured kicking game, kicking for territory, a bit of kick tennis every now and then, but it's refreshing to see teams just throw the ball around and go for it. And as a neutral, it's very, very entertaining to watch. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below. Place your thoughts below on the red card and consistency, and we'll have some more content for you very, very soon.